All rise. No, wait. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Circuit Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit in and for Miami-Dade County is now in session. The Honorable Judge Nugent Safety presiding. All persons having business before this court, come nigh and you shall be heard. God save the United States of America and this honorable court.
Good afternoon, family, friends, guests here and with us on live stream to the investiture of the Honorable Scott Janowitz as County Court Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit of Florida. Please remain standing as we ask three very special guests to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Judge Janowitz's children, twins Shelby and Nathan, who are age 5, and Marcus, age 3. Thank you all very much. I said these keep getting cuter and cuter, but this, I think this is competition here. This could be the cutest. Now, as we continue to remain standing, please welcome our very own, our colleague, County Court colleague, Judge Linda Melendez, County Court Judge, also known as Judge Janowitz's work wife, from the Coral Gables Branch Court, to lead us in the invocation.
Good afternoon, my dear colleagues, friends and family of Judge Janowitz, and ladies and gentlemen. I wrote this poem for you, buddy, It's called the Oath of the Black Robe. The black robe looks for its resting place amongst the shoulders of the righteous one, the one who sees no race, no creed, no gender, the one who believes in equality for all. It remains blind willingly. It has no room for pride or arrogance or entitlement. It knows its power and its position. The black robe has taken an oath. It changes the shoulders it rests upon and becomes aware of the deep and ingrained ethical conundrum it faces. It leads to a place of chosen isolation, and yet it realizes that it is necessary to fulfill its destiny. It deepens its awareness of where it stands and the boundaries that it cannot cross. The bearer of the black robe understands the significance of the weight he carries and does so willingly and with great respect for the journey ahead. The oath of the black robe travels as far as its bearer allows. It transforms the shoulders it rests upon with a sense of knowing the greatness of its power and the depth of its responsibility. The black robe has found its resting place amongst the shoulders of wisdom and greatness, the one who will be called the judge as he carries out his oath. And it whispers, I am here. I have arrived. Do right by me and what I stand for. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we live in times and seasons in the hopes that we accomplish our ordained purpose and destiny. Before you is Judge Scott Janowitz. We pray that he arise from fear and embrace truth and courage to impart justice. Give him words of wisdom that will guide and influence many. May he carry out his daily oath with grace and dignity, with humbleness and gratefulness. Dear Lord, clothe him with a mantle of dignity and strength. Bestow upon him your protection and your daily blessings. Walk with him and guide him in your light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehekianu kivmanu, higianu lasman haseh. Blessed are you, eternal Spirit, who has given us life, sustained us, and allow us to arrive in this moment. Amen.
Amen.
May the force be with you.
Thank you, Judge Melendez, also known as Jedi Master. On this very special day, we have some very special guests who have joined us, and thanks to the benefit of technology, and unfortunately due to the Omicron virus, many of them are going to be with us on live stream. So if you are here in person, please stand as I call your name, and if you're out there on live stream, you can stay seated, but know that we are very much appreciative of your presence here. We have Vicki Mendez via live stream, City Attorney of Coral Gables, and I'm sorry, I should have told you all to please be seated. Please be seated. And hello, Vicki, via live stream. We have Eric Diaz-Padrón, Vice Mayor of the City of West Miami. He's here. Thank you so much for being here. David Axelman, General Counsel from the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation. That's DBPR, for those of you who don't know. We have a very special guest joining us from the 17th Judicial Circuit. We have Judge Florence Taylor Barner, who I would like to kidnap and make part of our Miami bench. She's fabulous, for those of you that don't already know that. We have Michael Satz, former Broward State Attorney. He's going to be with us, I believe, live stream. We have Senior Judge Gisela Cardone, who's mother to all of us on the bench. Judge Cardone, thank you for being here. She's also here by live stream. Giselle Gutierrez, President-elect by live stream of the Cuban American Bar Association. Thank you so much, Ms. Gutierrez. And Suzette Rusumano, Vice President of the Miami-Dade Bar Association. Marianne Ruiz, who is representing the Florida Association of Women Lawyers. I don't see her, but she's probably with us via live stream. Kevin Hellman, who's president of the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. He's here via live stream. Michelle Suskauer, past president of the Florida Bar, here with us in person. Nakia Ruffin, who is an alum of our General Counsel's office, but she's now moved on to hopefully greener pastures. Nakia is president of the Gwyneth Cherry Black Women Lawyers Association. I believe she's with us via live stream. Trinette Zarin, President, and Naib Hassan. I think I saw Mr. Hassan here, both here from the Miami Lakes Bar Association. Thank you for being here. Travis Randolph, who's president of the Wilkie D. Ferguson Jr. Bar Association. He is here with us via live stream. Richard Cooper, executive director of the Miami-Dade League of Cities, here via live stream. Rabbi Efrat Zarin Zohar, executive director of the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education, also here with us live stream. Thank you so much for being here. Dean Vanderweyden is assistant dean for professional development at the University of Miami Law School. Too bad Judge Soto was not here. She'd be throwing out the U's right about now. Also via live stream, thank you for being here. And Florida Supreme Court Judicial Nominating Commission member, Harut Samra. Did I see him? I thought I saw him. Hayden O'Byrne, who's the 11th Judicial Circuit Nominating Commission member and president of the Federal Society Miami-Dade chapter. I think I saw him. Yep, there he is. Hard to see people with the mask on, but. And also from the 11th Judicial Circuit Nominating Commission, Pedro Allende. And Robert Fernandez, who is the 11th Judicial Circuit Nominating Commission. I believe Rob's chair or past chair. It's probably with us also via live stream. Let me see if we're missing anyone. If we are missing anyone, please let Eunice know, and she will make sure that I get word of that from my cell phone, and I will make sure to acknowledge you. Thank you all so much for being here in person and virtually. Also here today, we have members of our greater court family. On behalf of, actually no, Carlos Martinez is here with us via live stream. Carlos Martinez, our public defender. Thank you for being here virtually, Carlos. On behalf of Catherine Fernandez-Rundle, we have Nilo Corvo, who's Director of Community Outreach at the State Attorney's Office. On behalf of Jean Zanobi, our Regional Counsel, we have Marie Etienne, who's one of the lawyers, I believe, and Assistant Regional Counsels in Dependency. And on behalf of our Clerk of Courts, Harvey Rubin, we have Director Doreen Ruggiero, and I believe Doreen is here with us virtually. Thank you, Doreen. And finally, last but certainly not least, representing or supporting our day-to-day court operations with their expertise and wisdom. I'm going to say it every single investiture, so you're going to get tired of me saying it. We are nothing. The judiciary is nothing without them. Representing our Administrative Office of the Courts, we have Mary Woolley Larea, our Director of Operations. We also have our incredible General Counsel, Pat Gladson, who I don't want to say that she has favorites, but Scott, you might be one of her favorites. And our credible AV team that now has taken on the Herculean task of making sure that not only is there a video recording of the event, but that all of the people out there in virtual live stream land can also see this. So thank you so much to our AV team. And of course, Eunice Sigler, our Public Information Officer, who's out in the hallway, you know, pulling out her hair, and Marissa Gavica, Deputy Public Information Officer, who are really the two people who make this day possible more than anyone else. So thank you all. Thank you everyone for being here. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you someone who you've already been introduced to earlier today, past president of the Florida Bar, an esteemed attorney, great friend of the courts, and she's from Palm Beach, but she's another one who we really might as well be from Miami, Michelle Suskauer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Chief Judge Safey, esteemed members of the bench and bar, friends and family of Judge Janowitz. On behalf of President Michael Tanner, the Board of Governors, and over 110,000 members, it is my honor to be here as past president to represent the Florida Bar. And it's wonderful to be here today and speak to people who are here and also in virtual land, and see all of you on this very happy occasion. Investitures are so much more than just taking an oath. The judge will have family and friends, and it's an opportunity for all of us to get to know him on a very personal level, to share stories and find out really what brought him to this very special day. And we're here today to celebrate a very wonderful, great judge, a great guy, Scott Janowitz. That's right. The last year and a half has been, I would say, very challenging for all of us. And as lawyers, we've had to very quickly adapt our practices, learn how to be effective remotely, in person, with masks, not see our friends and family and our colleagues, or just from a safe distance. And of course, our judiciary has had to modify. They've had to utilize technology in new ways, maybe uncomfortable ways, be creative, more collaborative, work remotely, and try to keep the wheels of justice moving when all the parts were in different places. Deal with lawyers and litigants appearing in pajamas or cars or pajamas in cars. I have heard stories. Judge Janowitz took the bench during this crazy time, and he hit the ground running. He volunteered for every county civil committee that he could and was instrumental in helping to create what this new program, Court Help Online, which, for those of you who don't know, it's an early dispute resolution for landlord-tenant cases. He really has made a difference in the short time that he has been on the bench. He has the right skill set at the right time. And he apparently is the tech guru and has helped so many deal with all of these issues and problems. He is calm, he wades through organized chaos, he has a great sense of humor, and he is, after all, the father of 3 little kids, so he has to. He is truly dedicated to helping the public. And Judge, you are part of a very, very special judicial community. And although my main office is in West Palm Beach, this room is filled with some of the very best judges in the state of Florida, working tirelessly to keep our courts open and to make sure that justice is accessible to all. So embrace them, learn from them. I know they've also learned from you. We are very proud of everything you've done and will continue to do. Mazel tov.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Now for remarks on behalf of the Miami-Dade Bar Association, we have the Vice President of the organization, another distinguished attorney. Please welcome Ms. Suzette Rusomano.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Honor, Your Honors, families, friends, colleagues, and most importantly, Judge Janowitz. On behalf of the Miami-Dade Bar Association, we congratulate and welcome Judge Janowitz to the bench. I was told, this is my first opportunity, and I'm honored to speak at Judge Janowitz's investiture. I was told by someone that has been doing this a few times that the best thing to do is speak to some of the family members or friends of the judge and find out what things about the judge make him great or make her great, make them an asset to our bench. So I had the opportunity to speak to AKA the BFF, the Honorable Linda Melendez, who has also been referred to as the work wife, the Honorable Florence Barner, who's here with us today, and I also spoke to one of Judge Janowitz's colleagues, Nayeeb Hassan. The overall and impressive message about Judge Janowitz is that everything he does it 150%. He's not only passionate about the law, about his knowledge, or wanting to learn more about the law, but just everything in general. Judge Melendez refers to him as the encyclopedia of case law. No matter what order you're working on, Judge Janowitz is going to know the case that's on point that came out 2 weeks ago, and he's going to be able to cite it and tell you the holding, might even tell you the dicta, who knows, but he knows it all. So that's Encyclopedia Judge Janowitz. Judge Barner also told me about not necessarily a legal reference, but just going and showing that dedication that he has. He is a fanatic of WWE, but Judge Janowitz doesn't just go and watch wrestling. He attends these events and dresses up as 80s wrestlers. And so that is the dedication that you will see with Judge Janowitz on and off the bench, and as Michelle just explained to you, and why he's such a great judge. Nayeeb also, as his colleague in the state attorney's office, had to say the same thing. He told me how he missed that being able to speak to him about cases and bounce ideas off each other, because that's what he does. He's there for you. He's your colleague. Even when he was with pro se defendants dealing with them, he still treated them with the respect that they deserved and was transparent as a state attorney, on the record, off the record. That's the kind of person that Judge Janowitz is, and we are so honored to have him on the bench. I am honored to be able to speak at your investiture. And on behalf of the Miami-Dade Bar Association, I would like to present to you this Torah. Congratulations, Judge.
Thank you so much, Ms. Usmano. I don't know about the rest of you, but I kind of want to see photos of Judge Janowitz at a WWE event. All right, so for those of you that don't know, the judges wait in anxious anticipation to get their nameplate and their plaque so they can have something, because you become a judge and your walls are blank, and then the other judges have all this stuff on their walls, and you feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And Scott, after I don't know how long it's been because of COVID and all the delays, your plaques are here. Thank you to the the county conference for your nameplate, and we also have a beautiful plaque here from CABA commemorating this special day. And now for personal remarks on behalf of the judge's family and friends, please welcome Attorney Clayton Hackney, who's a friend and law school classmate of Judge Janowitz.
May it please the court, Chief Judge Safey, members of the bench, members of the bar, friends, family members, all of those out there on the internet, hello, greetings. My name is Clayton Hackney, and I have had the privilege of being a friend of Scott Janowitz for going on near 18 years now. It's pretty remarkable when you think about how time flies, and it certainly has. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to be here to talk to you about who I consider a great friend, a fantastic lawyer, and just all around a truly exceptional public servant, somebody who's dedicated himself not only to the community, to public service, to his friends, to his family, to those around him. This is the second time that I've been privileged enough to speak at a momentous occasion on behalf of Judge Janowitz. The first time was at his wedding to his beautiful wife. And it was an honor to be chosen by him as a groomsman at that affair. And I tell you, it's not every wedding that ends during the reception where the bride and the groom come in to the Rocky theme song, wearing a championship belt. Not every wedding, but definitely theirs. That's the kind of guy we have. Now, they didn't know at the time, but that was just the beginning of the fight. Because, as you can see, and you've met already, they've got 3 wonderful children. The fight continues. I'm privileged to know that my children get to spend time with them and hang out at the house, and really just, it's a wonderful time when they get to be with the Janowi. So it's an honor. The second time, of course, is now the great honor to be here with you today and to this occasion of his investiture. I guess let me start by talking a little bit about how I first came to know Scott. 2003, flashback to the University of Miami School of Law. Go Canes. We were just starting out as 1Ls. And Dean Vanderwyden, I understand you're watching live. I want to talk a little bit about something you said at the time during our orientation. You said from that point, from orientation, that everything that we do in law school, everything that we do with our classmates, everything that we do in the legal community is going to be a gauge of how we're treated and what our reputation is going to be going forward. That caution clearly registered with Scott, because Scott immediately showed his classmates, showed his future law colleagues, showed his future adversaries, future judges, that he was a person who had high ethical standards, that he was the person who was going to go and fight for the things that he believed in. There were some issues at law school, some questions taking place about student associations and allocations of money. And Scott, because he felt that it was the right thing to do, got up and publicly took a position and publicly addressed the issues, called for investigations, asked that these things be addressed. It wasn't popular. It wasn't the kind of thing that was going to make him great friends, but it was the kind of thing that told everybody there that this is a person who's formidable, that who cares about issues, who cares about doing the right thing, and he did. Now, he earned the enmity of a few people as a result of that, and there were some that would have preferred that it just go away. But there were a great many more of us who realized that this is a person who deserves respect. Now, not to suggest that law school was all hard work and all fights and what have you. There was a great opportunity that Scott and I and about 20, 30 other law students from around the country had an opportunity to participate in what I would call an epic European adventure. Traveling around the countries in Europe, starting in Greece, going through Italy, through France, through Spain. You'd have a lot of fun. We were learning foreign laws from, in foreign places. And it was really a fantastic adventure, a truly remarkable opportunity to get to know him as a person, to really spend a lot of time with somebody who I consider a great friend. And just so you don't think that it was all studying while we were there, because it most certainly was not, I'll share a little story about something that took place. It's a good story because, it tells you a little bit more about his character. You may have heard of a particular city, a little cattle town in the northern part of Spain. A certain guy by the name of Hemingway wrote a book about it. They do something there, a little crazy, you might say, where they run down the street with live bulls. Yes, our intrepid judge here is one of those people who has ventured out into the street and chased bulls down the street, or allowed them to chase him, as it were. Now, say what you will about that sort of event. I know some people have strong feelings about it one way or the other, but I will say this. It takes a certain character of person to get in there and to do that. It's the type of person who will embrace a challenge. It's the type of person who has the ability to face their fears and go out and do what they need to do. And oh, by the way, this wasn't just any old run with the bulls. That particular day was one of the top 10 most dangerous in the history of the running of the bulls. Pretty memorable. Bucket list item checked. That confidence, that knowledge and that ability, that understanding of his own abilities, that's an attribute. Those are attributes that carry through with Judge Janowitz to this day. And you can see it in his practice when he was in practice. You can see it today when he's on the bench. He's always wanted to be in public service. We knew back in law school that he wanted to be a prosecutor. And so that's what he did. He saw the challenge, he saw the opportunity, he embraced it, he went and grabbed it. He was up in the state attorney's office in Broward, immediately ran through the ranks, got up in the felony level, was prosecuting important cases, significant felony cases, earning the respect of his colleagues, earning the respect of other prosecutors, defense counsel, members of the judiciary. When he moved over to civil practice after that, that continued. Scott was always my go-to guy, the guy that I would call up if I had an issue about, how would you approach this trial issue? What do you think is the best strategy to do in a certain proceeding or before a certain judge? He has an encyclopedic knowledge of the law, as has been alluded to already. He knows case law cold. He knows exactly the case to argue. He knows what to say it to the right judge at the right time. And I'll tell you, my personal loss with him going up to the bench is that I don't have that resource to look to anymore, at least in that regard. When I made the decision a little while back to go out on my own, Scott was the first person that I went to because I knew that I could trust his advice and his counsel and his experience because he opened his own law practice. He had some great partners. You're going to hear from some of them as well, one of them as well. I should say, he's the first person I talked to after my wife, who's probably watching. I talked to her first. He's always been a great sounding board. He's always been a great asset. He's a great asset to this community. And so when Scott decided that he wanted to go back into public service, and we all knew that he would, we knew that that's where his motivation was. It wasn't surprising at all when he said that he wanted to be a judge, and we knew that that's where he was going. Now, I know several of you here have probably been through the experience of the JNC and the gubernatorial process and the heartache and the turmoil that goes with that, the applications, the multiple interviews, the meetings, perhaps the trips to Tallahassee, perhaps the interviews with the governor's office. But when I was asked to send a letter on his behalf, when I was asked to reach out and communicate with members of the JNC, asked to communicate with the governor's staff, asked to advocate on behalf of Scott, I did that without hesitation because Scott is exactly the kind of person that we need on the bench. And Miami-Dade County is better off for having Scott Janowitz as a member of our judiciary. Thank you so much for being here.
Running of the Bulls in Pamplona. We're getting some good material here today. No pressure on the next speaker, but we need some more stories. So for further personal remarks on behalf of the judge's family and friends, please welcome Attorney Gilberto Barreto, former law partner and friend.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chief Judge, esteemed members of the bench, the family and friends of Scott, Judge Janowitz. I am honored and privileged and humbled to be here today as an invited speaker on Scott's behalf. He's my former law partner, and all due respect, Judge, he was mine first. And it was hard to let him go. But we're all better for it. As Clay just said, Miami-Dade County is so much better off having Scott on the bench and somebody like him. And I don't have any wrestling stories or any running of the bulls stories. It's probably a good thing that I don't, because I would have been the one probably gored. I've known Scott for about 13 years now. We first met when we worked at the defense firm together. We have some former colleagues who worked at the same firm, former clients that are here, and we've all gotten to know Scott over the years. At the time he joined, he had recently left the Broward State Attorney's Office. I was a lawyer for about 7 years, and we had a case, and it's funny enough how karma works and the world. The very first trial that Scott and I did together was in this courtroom in front of the Honorable Judge Jill Freeman. And it was a hurricane case, and it was the first civil case that he had tried after coming from the state attorney's office. And for a lot of you that did criminal defense or were prosecutors or did criminal work, it's a different world here in the civil world. And I remember him questioning the first witness, and it was a nice lady who had done some cleanup after the hurricane, and he was cross-examining her as if she had committed some type of third-degree felony. It was a tough time, because at the time, as a civil lawyer, I had done maybe 5 or 6 trials, which in the civil world is a lot at that time for a 7-year lawyer. And he had done like 9,000 criminal trials, because in criminal court, the prosecutors and the defense attorneys, they handle lots of cases and they do lots of trials. So technically speaking, he had a lot more trial experience than me. But I was the more senior lawyer. And so he has a strong personality, and so do I. And we're both very competitive, so I'm sure you can see where this is going. So needless to say, our relationship at the beginning didn't hit the ground running, so to speak. We did have clashes, we did have conflicts. That never changed, but here's what did. We had a talk. And as attorneys, we all have our styles. Some, as we get older, we get set in our ways, and we find it difficult to change. Where almost instantly, and this is where really Scott earned my respect, which is, I think, why our relationship evolved over time, was we had a conversation during the break, and I was like, Scott, you can't, this is not criminal court. You can't question her, and read her the Riot Act, because the jury's not going to like you. And we already represent insurance companies. They don't like us. So don't make them not like us more. It was like he realized, even though I'm telling him this, and one of the partners who was representing another client had talked to him as well, because we were having clashes, we were having personality conflicts, we had to get to know each other, but he made the adjustment like this. Comes back after the break, and it was like he hit a switch, and it was amazing that coming in, listening to someone who he barely knows in that environment, and being able to make the necessary adjustments to represent our client and get a favorable result and all those things, that's not easy for us as attorneys, as people to do. And that's where he earned my respect. The fact that he was able to listen to what I had to say, not just hear it, and take it and make the adjustment on the fly, and he hit the ground running on every case that we tried after that. And our relationship from there just, it went from being a mutually respectful one professionally to there's a lot of things that people may know. What you may not know about Scott is he's actually a twin himself, and I'm his twin brother. Much the way that Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger were twins in the movie. A lot of people would say we share half the brain. We can finish each other's sentences. We know when we were working together, it was not just the respect, but our friendship, our professional relationship. We were able to try cases together, make it on the other side, and the work was never personal. And I think that's what allowed us to develop the friendship and the relationship that we have. He's one of my best friends, which I think is also unusual. As adults, we don't usually meet people, and the people that you usually have as your best friends are people you grew up with, people you went to school with, people you know a long time. For me, at least in my experience, it's very rare to gain a best friend this late in my life and in my career. And I'm grateful, and I'm a better person that's happened. Excuse me. I love him like he was my own brother. And I apologize. So, anyway, there's a lot of words that I'm sure everyone in this room agrees. He's confident, humble, he has integrity, he has incomparable work ethic. He's really a workaholic and should probably go to meetings. His idea of a vacation was taking personal days to fly up to the 11th Judicial Circuit to hear oral arguments, and former Supreme Court Justice Raul Cantero present oral arguments in the 11th Circuit on a case that he worked on. That was his idea of a vacation. That's the type of work and dedication and work ethic that every attorney who practices in the state of Florida wants would hope to have on the bench. And like I said, and just echoing everybody else's comments, it was hard for me to see him go, but I think we're all better off for it. I mean, he's worked so hard. He's the associate administrative judge. He came in the middle of a pandemic. And just so that everyone's aware as to his IT ability, because he's definitely the IT guru of South Florida. When we go to lunch, we still call him to calculate the tip. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. We're all better off, and I'm really, really, truly proud to call him a friend, to call him my law partner, and to call him my brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barretto. It's not a good investiture if there's not laughter and some tears. So you brought us home. Thank you so much. And now for the oath of office and robing, I would like to ask our colleague, Circuit Judge Alberto Milian, who was Judge Janowitz's friend and mentor at the Broward State Attorney's Office, to join Judge Janowitz and his family at the podium for the oath. Welcome back up, Shelby, Nathan, and Marcus. Also, Yona, Judge Janowitz's wife. And with us virtually, Dr. Warren and Elizabeth Janowitz, Judge Janowitz's parents, and Allison and Michelle Janowitz, the sisters. I'm sure they're super proud. Thank you for all being with us via live stream. And with that, I will turn the floor over to you, Judge Milian.
Thank you. I too am honored and privileged to be here today. Thank you, Scott, for giving me this honor. Hey, kids, you ready?
My other hand,
Raise your
I'm
right
sorry.
hand. Yeah, the other right.
A little nervous, yeah.
Right. It's all right. I state your name.
I, Scott Michael Janowitz,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the government
and the government
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and of the state of Florida,
and of the state of Florida,
that I am qualified
that I am qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution
under the Constitution
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
perform the duties
perform the duties
of judge
of judge
of the county court
of the county court
of the 11th Judicial Circuit
of the 11th Judicial Circuit
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
on which I am now
for which I am now
about to enter.
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Is it too high? No, it's fine.
Everyone please be seated.
I feel like I have to alter half the speech because a lot of things have already been said. Those wrestling pictures are out there. Just ask for them. Just know that Judge Barner, you're in them too. So. Thank you, everyone, for being here. On April 21st, 2020, I was home working, like we all were 1 month into the COVID pandemic, when my phone rang from an unknown number from the Jacksonville area. Despite having received numerous spam phone calls from there and the 904 area code, I picked up the phone, and thankfully, rather than an inquiry about extending my car warranty, Joe Jaco was on there to tell me that Governor DeSantis had decided to appoint me to the Miami-Dade County Court bench. Joe told me that an official announcement would be made in the next few hours and asked me not to publicly tell anyone until then. Obviously, I was very excited, and I couldn't wait to share the joyous news with not only my immediate family, but everyone and all my friends. However, rather than celebrate, I had to wait. You see, my wife and kids had decided to take a nap 30 minutes before that surprise phone call, and so I got to sit in my home office alone, quietly, for the next 2.5 hours, just texting with Judge Kolikoff the same day about, wow, I wonder if the governor is going to make this appointment today. Yes, I wonder. Luckily, my family woke up, and I was finally able to give a good shout and a good cheer. During that time, around that time as well, many emotions came over me. I was humbled, excited, proud, relieved, and anxious, just to name a few. And there was actually fear, and part of that fear related to this moment. Me speaking about my journey, I can assure you that an event about me is actually not a lot of fun for me. I have sat through many investitures, and I've always been amazed when hearing how my now colleagues describe themselves and their journey and the many tremendous obstacles that they have overcome and how they were trailblazers among their family and their industry. I don't have that story. I have struggled actually for the last 1.5 years when thinking about what I was going to say, since I'm only here thanks to the support, guidance, and love of my family, friends, and colleagues. Until I finally became at peace with it because I realized this was an event for my family, friends, and colleagues. I'm honored that all of you came here to celebrate this occasion, both those physically here and for everyone watching on the live stream. Part of the excitement of today has been communicating with those people who have played a role in where I am today. I've heard from people all over the country and world, including friends from India, England, and Kenya. I am thankful to Chief Eunice Mirza, Sites, and the AV teams for setting up YouTube so that those who couldn't attend in person, whether it be COVID, health, distance, or other necessary obligations, can still share in my special day.
This includes my family who are here in spirit, and I know they love me and they're here, but I'm much happier that everyone is safe and able to watch online. No story starts without acknowledging my parents, Warren and Elizabeth, both smart medical professionals who have always pushed their children to be the best they can be. I could actually spend an entirety of my speech to them and why and how they've meant so much to me and why they're so wonderful. My dad is my hero and is the smartest person I ever met. Let's just recap his accomplishments as a trained engineer turned renowned doctor in nuclear medicine at both Mount Sinai and Baptist, Navy veteran who in the 80s went to UM Law School at night after a full day of work as a doctor, finishing top of his class and had one of the highest Florida bar exam scores. Just a little bit to live up to. My mom, who gave up her career in nursing to raise her children, assist in schoolwork, and to be there for everything. Now, it took less than one season of Little League Baseball and Bethon basketball to know that I would not be added to the movie Airplane's leaflet of famous Jewish sports legends. Instead, my family and my parents recognized that I was academically inclined, not necessarily grade-wise, but about knowledge. My mother once said that she saw high potential for me and didn't want to see it wasted. So my parents pushed and pushed. And while my mom never said it, Aristotle once said, "You are what you repeatedly do. Excellence is not an event, it is a habit." And I believe she would agree with that statement. She would also say, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And so I responded to that type of encouragement. I developed a love of learning and a thirst for information, like Johnny Five in Short Circuit. Yes, I'm an 80s child. Well, born in the 70s, but I grew up in the 80s, and I tended to adapt to it. That led me to doing things and achieving things, and I, for whatever reason, was pushed, and I was taking an SAT in the 6th grade, and I was going to Duke University for the talent identification program, and for whatever reason, I had some profiles in the New York Times and the Miami Herald, and in my most popular school moment, I even once had a Japanese film crew profile a day in my life in 7th grade. To this day, I don't even know why they did that, but we have it at home, so if actually anyone does speak Japanese, I would love to actually play the VHS and find out what was this about. But that being said, I also had the pleasure of growing up with both sets of my grandparents in the South Florida region. They showered me with love and affection, teaching and guiding me on how to be a good person. Hopefully people will say most of those known lessons stuck with me. My maternal grandfather, Harold Lowenstein, was especially influential. Closer to a third parent, he loved teaching me history, talking baseball, and teaching me about dealing with people from his experiences in business. All 4 of my grandparents have meant a great deal to me, and even though they have all passed away prior to my accomplishments of becoming a judge, I know they are here in spirit, and they'd be very proud of me. Between family, my childhood was shaped around my schooling at Ransom Everglades and my teaching at Temple Beth Am. It always took to heart when I had my bar mitzvah, and my Torah portion that I talked about was Shalach Lecha, and part of that has to deal with during the time in which Moses led everyone out of Egypt, and it was before he was allowed to deliver the people into Israel. And at one point, he is commanded by God to send people to go look upon the land of Israel and to report. And my portion that I got to talked about when they went over and they saw the land, they were scared, they were pessimistic, they weren't sure they could make that journey and whether it was worth the journey, and a lot of them asked to go back to Egypt. And part of the lessons has to be about faith and taking risks, and not just going with what is easy. And I've learned that lesson, and I've tried to live my life that way. I developed a deep sense to serve my community. Now, I had no ambitions of being a lawyer when I grew up, despite my uncle, my aunt being a lawyer, my dad obviously going to law school when I was a young child. That wasn't my goal. In fact, as mentioned, I've always been technologically savvy because I could type on a computer faster and before I could even write with my hands. Years before Windows came out, when the school would be like, who do you want to write a biography project on, I was choosing Bill Gates. I wanted to be a technology innovator. I wanted to change the world. However, I realized I wasn't necessarily a computer genius, and by high school that had changed. At that point, I wanted to be president. Why not? Think low. The reason was simple. I liked making big decisions and felt comfortable getting research on both sides of an issue and making final determinations. This was well known, and actually in one time in AP government, a friend joked with me in front of the class that I was going to become president and then use the military to turn it into a dictatorship. Obviously the class laughed, and my teacher, who I'd become close with, chimed in and saying that they just didn't understand me. That yes, I wanted to be president, and that I actually wanted to do such a good job that the people wanted me to be their leader forever. A silly proposition, but I smiled and said that was true, because I always wanted to do what was best for everyone. And I always thought that I would be a person who could make those kind of decisions. I wanted to always be a positive difference for others. My slogan, taught to me on the first day of college at Carnegie Mellon, was Andrew Carnegie's quote, "My heart is in my work." And it's something I say 1,000 times a day. My kids have heard it already, too numerous to mention. Unfortunately, back then, I took that maybe a little too literal. I was so focused on my work product that I wasn't necessarily developing me. Funny story is 2 weeks into my freshman year, my college roommate, Lee, turns to me and he goes, "Scott, you are the oldest 18-year-old there is. You are already to be retired on a golf course, talking politics with everyone else that is retired." And it was true. I had never really been all that much of a kid in developing my personality and developing all those true friendships. I was so focused on trying to do the best I could academically and expand my mind and go for my career. So unfortunately, I can then say that the rest of my time at Carnegie Mellon is not characterized as my academic peak. In fact, I believe I went through about 4 majors, just class after class, until one day I realized I could graduate a semester early with a major and 2 minors, and that was good enough for me. College for me was actually a time of 3 Bs: brotherhood, beer, and bacon. 3 things I really didn't have growing up. And I do love bacon now. Sorry, Mom, but I just do. I'm thankful for my core groups of friends at Carnegie Mellon, especially my Morwood 4E and 5E friends, my fraternities at my fraternity brothers at Delta Tau Delta, and all the other wonderful people I met there. I got to travel around with the football and basketball teams broadcasting their games, and I really started to learn who I was and what I believed in. During my time at Carnegie Mellon, I focused my studies on economics and social decision systems, which is a permanent department there, which combines studies in the social sciences with the practical skills needed to excel in key decision-making roles in the public and private sectors. My education, my professors were fabulous and caused me to think about life in brand new ways. I knew that my next move from college would be to become a business technology consultant. I was offered a job at Diamond Technology Partners, a consultancy group in Chicago filled with industry and technology leaders. This company is one that developed the idea of bandwidth trading, and I worked on projects to create large extranets for insurance companies to automate policy writing, kiosks for four-year entertainment stores so consumers can sample songs and burn their own CDs back when there was such thing as a CD, and a host of other projects. And I worked with some amazing individuals. I'd like to make a shout out to my dearest friend, my best man at my wedding, Brian Stein, who I met at that time and who continues to be a guide to me and someone who I can always rely on for life advice. Another person I wanted to acknowledge from that time is Jason Kunish, who besides being an insightful and compassionate person, is a brilliant user interface designer and always taught me how to design things, whether it's explanations, websites, products, typeface, to make them easier for people to use. I wouldn't have known it at the time, but he went on to serve as one of the design heads for President Obama's campaigns and since went on to serve as director of design for the city of Chicago. However, the recession after Y2K, I was let go from that position, along with 30% of the company. And I didn't know what I exactly was going to do. There were a lot of options. My parents were like, business school, law school, what do you want to do? And I decided that I still wanted to be president. So, what was my path? Very simple. Law school, prosecutor, congressman, president. Simple, right? In fact, at the time, my AOL screen name was President of the United States in 28, POTUS in 28. That was always my thought process. People have even recently asked, hey, it's closer to, only a few years away, what's going on? And this was my AOL screen name for a long time until very early on, first year of law school, when a future friend, remarked to us all that hey, your name is Pot Using 28. You must be cool. Screen name changed a few minutes later. No, I'm not cool, and no, I'm not Pot Using 28. I came to Miami in large part back to Miami for law school because my family was here. My grandmother had passed away just before I had to make a decision. And it felt strange having to wait hours to get home and to be there with everyone, and I didn't like that feeling. And that was definitely the best choice I ever made, was to come back home. Law school was hard for me. I didn't get great grades. I'm not ashamed to necessarily say it. And frankly, I wasn't necessarily even prepared for law school. I was a consultant, and I considered myself smart, but it was in a lot of other fields. I didn't know anything really about the law. I mean, I'd read what I read in the news and everything else, but I wasn't I wasn't adept. I wasn't a pre-law major, and I definitely didn't really read any books prior to going into law school. And during that first year, and even after my first year, I never thought I was going to make it. The crazy thing is, you wouldn't have necessarily known it just talking to me. I seemed to be able to explain concepts and cases, but I can tell you, I couldn't put it together. It just didn't make any sense to me. That summer, I traveled around, as you heard from Clay, I traveled around to the Mediterranean on a law trip and went all over the Mediterranean, Turkey, Italy, France, Monaco, Spain, and ran with the bulls. Sitting back and hearing this, you think I'm sort of a wild child, but really, I think most people would tell you I'm actually pretty clean cut. I guess I have those moments where I just have that fun. I came back to school with a renewed purpose, and it was about the resolve and bouncing back, staying focused. And as Clay alluded to, I was immediately confronted early on in that second year with that situation that was affecting friends. It was affecting the student body as a whole, but it was really affecting my friends most personally. And they needed someone, and they asked, and they were like, who is going to challenge this? There's something going wrong here. Things need to be done. There needs to be an investigation. Someone needs to stand up and speak for the students, speak for what's right, speak what's against was the student code. I could have avoided it. I could have just said, I sympathize and everything else. But I knew that wasn't the way it was appropriate. I knew that wasn't me. I needed to stand up. And luckily, I also knew that I had some great friends. Clay, Mary, David, Ryan, Scott, Dan, Jason, Lee, Brad, Hunter, and dozens of other people who had kept me up afloat that first year and I knew supported me. And so I stood up and I said what was right. And when Clay understates it when he says it wasn't necessarily popular. I had meetings with various deans every day about it, and not necessarily pleasant ones. And it definitely knocked it definitely caused the school to almost go to a halt. But it was the right move, and at the end of the day, I know I was proven correct about what I did. Unfortunately, that also meant that I wasn't necessarily focusing on my grades again that semester. And so at that point, I was 3 semesters in, and I knew it was time to just get out of law school. But I knew I had changed in terms of how I had thought and how I was thinking. And law school completely transformed everything. I don't think my mom would necessarily appreciate now how law school changes everyone's thinking, and the fact that I argue with her all the time, probably more now than I ever did, but I did. Before I graduated early, though, I had the amazing opportunity to do Let Skills. And from that program, I fell in love with the idea of it, but it was just sort of a mock. It was a mock trial. Then I actually had the beautiful opportunity to go do an internship with the state attorney's office here in Miami in domestic violence. Judge Jean was actually one of my assigned attorneys. And I actually got to try a case. And it was an amazing feeling, and I felt at home, and it was exciting. Up until the moment I got a guilty. There was an immediate rush over me of excitement, and then at the same time, I was not happy. I was like, this was real. I just convicted someone of a crime. Not me, but I had prosecuted someone, and a jury had found them guilty of a crime. And I knew it was going to affect their life, and it was going to affect the victim, and it was going to affect everyone. And I learned from that I had a sense of obligation, and so I took that to heart. But it actually still made me want to be a prosecutor even more. Funny thing is I actually had a final interview set up with Kathy Fernandez-Rendell when I got into a car accident right before the February bar exam. And so I had to reschedule for afterwards. And right after the Florida bar exam had completed, I had first an interview with Michael Satz up in Broward, and I was thankful I got an interview with first with now Judge Multack, who interviewed me, and Jeff Marcus, and finally Michael Satz. And he turned to me and he said, "I like you, Scott. I want to hire you. But you live in Miami. Do you want to work there or here?" And at this point, I was 20, what was I? I was 27, and I was like, no, I really just kind of want a job. So whoever offers me the job is actually where I'm going to go. And he's like, I'm offering you the job. And I'm like, I accept. Great. But I was privileged, and I'm excited to work there. And I got to work with some amazing people, whether it was Judge Barner, her husband Bill, Naib, Nicole, Carter, Rick, Will, and a bunch of other people, including a bunch of mentors and other people who have since become on to judges both here and in in Broward. Especially, there was people that had already left the office who still served as mentors to me, like Judge Milian, who I'm so thankful for, who kept telling as a prosecutor to tell me to keep humble, to tell me to keep focused, to do right, to do justice, because I was told on the very first day that actually the ultimate defense attorney is the prosecutor, because it's only the prosecutor that can drop a case on its own or can change the charges on their own. And it was a tremendous responsibility, and I took that to heart, and I always tried to every day and every case look at it to make sure that what I was doing was the right thing, and that every charge I was going after was the right charge, and every sentence I was asking for was what I believed to be the right sentence for justice. I want to thank Judge Coward, Judge Stacy Ross, who were my first trial judges in the misdemeanor division, who taught me compassion and patience and dedication to learning and growing as a judge. Judge Stacy Ross she taught me always willing to admit mistakes and always to do what was right. What was interesting is I had a chance to then be in the trial division, which was a concept there. It was kind of like backup, basically, where all the misdemeanor trials, they would overflow, and so we just needed a division where you could try cases. It didn't quite work exactly as intended because I was assigned the prosecutor, and the idea was that the division judge would come in there as a backup, and I would co-counsel on the case, basically, and help them. Instead, what ended up happening is prosecutors would be like, this case got here as backup, here, you try the case. And so there were times where I'd literally be walking up almost to the jury, ready to start the case, and I'm reading the PC affidavit going, okay, what are the actual facts? After analyzing the law and everything else, what are the actual facts? What's going on here? It really taught me to think on my feet. It taught me to always be prepared. I was thankful to get up and to go into felonies, and Judge Gates was my assigned division, and I was a go-getter, and I could see the forest, and he always taught me to see the forest through the trees. And he always said that reputation is everything. Be dependable. At one point, I had left his division and I came back, and on the first day I came back, I was there on a motion to suppress. And the reason the motion was the defense attorney was moving to suppress evidence was because the prior prosecutor, he had asked them 20 different times, and he just had it. Here's this email, here's this prior motion where you compelled it. And the evidence had never been given over. And so, Judge, I'm here to exclude it. And the judge just turns to me, Mr. Janowitz. And all I could say is, Judge, as you know, I just transferred back here today. I have never dealt on this case ever before. I can't fault you if you exclude the evidence because we haven't done it. But what I can tell you is if you give me 24 hours, the defense attorney will have the evidence. And the judge gave me that 24 hours. And right after the court, I drove an hour, went to the police station, got the evidence, and handed it over to the defense counsel. I also had the pleasure when I was lead of being in front of Judge Tobin Singer. And she's a former public defender in Miami, and so she gave me great perspective on the other side and how to approach things, both as a judge, as a prosecutor, and even as a public defender. And the opportunity to do things that I never, that I knew were right and that should be right. And quite frankly, I think she even once told me that when I told her what I was about to do, that she was like Martin Luther King once said, that the time is always right to do what is right. Because I had a case early on when I became lead in which a person was arrested for a first-degree punishable by life crime and so had no bond. And at the Arthur hearing, the judge thought that there was proof evident, presumption grade proof evident, and held the person no bond. And I came in there and I looked at it and it didn't make sense to me. And I put fresh eyes on it. And I went to the detective, and the detective's like, yeah, I'm not so sure. And so I spent that whole weekend analyzing it. On Monday morning, I went to the judge, told defense counsel, here's what I'm doing. I went to the judge for an order, and I said, let him out with a bond, because I do not believe that the state can show that this person was. And it ended up, the person who was in custody was not the person who was guilty of the crime. And we were able to do the investigation with the cops, and we were able to find out the other people involved, and it led to a lot of justice in a lot of different cases. But I was very proud and honored that I could make sure that justice was done in that case. As everyone knows, public service in terms of being a prosecutor, and if you read the papers, it's still evident today, has to end because of, at some point, economics. As I told Mike Satz, it would be one thing if I was struggling, but I couldn't take a date to McDonald's, much less, supersize the meals. So if I ever wanted to have a wife and kids and everything else, I needed to leave. And I was thankful to go to my uncle's firm, Burke, Merchant, and Sims. And I'm so thankful to Bill Burke, Evelyn Merchant, Melissa Sims, who taught me to work hard, how to dissect cases, and to take my trial skills to a level I didn't know existed. Gil told you the story about the first trial, and I really attribute my trial stuff to Evelyn Merchant, who once was so good at cross-examination that in that same trial, she actually got the the plaintiff in that case to basically change her story every time Evelyn Merchant raised the deposition transcript, without even referencing it. It could have been something that wasn't even discussed, but the witness knew that she was caught. And then she once said during that same trial, "Well, if I knew my words were going to be used against me, I wouldn't have testified that way." We won that case. But after several years, at this point, I'd already knew I wanted to get back into public service. I wanted to be a judge. The first time I applied to the JNC was in 2012. And as I've told the members of the JNC over the years, I'm thankful in a way I didn't get it back then. I wasn't ready. I definitely needed to have more experiences and to mature professionally and even personally before I was truly ready. I knew I had the personality, and I knew I had, as people alluded to, my knowledge of law and rules, but not necessarily was I ready to be a judge. But I knew I needed to do something different because representing insurance companies, I knew wasn't making me necessarily warm and fuzzy at night. So, newly married, having just purchased a house, no clients, I was thankful to have a good friend, Kevin Schatzman, come up to me and say, "Yeah, let's start a law firm." Okay, why not? What could go wrong? Yeah. So we struggled that year, but we did everything we could to help people, whether it was people being sued for eviction cases, small claims, insurance claims, bankruptcy, even criminal defense. We would do whatever, it's called door law. Whatever came in the door to help people, we would do. And I'm thankful, Kevin, for you opening my eyes to this idea and being able to do it and helping me achieve that. Of course, we really didn't bring in a lot of money that year, and the next year, I was thankful Gil wanted to come join us to help us. However, we still didn't really make a lot of money, and it was just kind of one of those things. And unfortunately, my wife and I wanted to have kids, and we needed to go to IVF. So, no income plus lots of loans previously, plus lots of loans for IVF equals no money and a lot of stress. And then when we got pregnant, I knew I needed to shake things up, and I told them that we needed to disband, and I needed to do something different. And during that period of when we're figuring things out, Gil came to me and said, "Well, Scott, let's forget about everything else. Let's do what we do. We know the insurance stuff from doing the defense side. Let's do insurance claims only as plaintiff side. And you also do criminal defense. Do it as a court appointment." And that was great. And it worked well. And karma intersected because, quite frankly, within a month of us doing that, we got a call from a public adjuster up in Pensacola, and who had just said, "I know your reputation. I see you. We need new attorneys to help us. Can you help us?" And it started to become a very effective practice. Criminal defense, I can't speak enough of it. And quite frankly, I've said that I wish that no matter which side you prefer in terms of serving, public defender or prosecutor, you should also serve on the other side. By doing both sides of the courtroom, I've learned so much, and I've gained so much of an understanding of how it all works and how it fits together. I was particularly proud of one case in which I took over from the public defender's office and regional counsel, in which I had a minor who was charged as an adult, who was 17 at the time, for first-degree murder. And the cops were convinced, and I wasn't. And I spoke to him, and I had my investigator, and we did the work. And within a year and a half of tracking down witnesses, which, when you go on nicknames and gang names and things like that, it's kind of hard to track them down and get them into deposition, right, and everything else, I was thankful to get the prosecution to finally drop the case. That only had a momentous for me. It also led to something for my investigator, who's now back as a police officer, because he was so moved by the way we handled that case and by the call to serve. Gil, I know you said it, but you're my brother except for blood. So, and I never understood friends who talk to each other every day, growing up, even now, or whatever else. I don't understand my wife calling her mom 3 times a day. I don't. I talk to Gil every day, and I get it. I also want to thank, eventually, once we did that, and we were doing all right, but we had an opportunity. We had an opportunity to join a bigger firm. Geyer, Fuchs, Tyler, I know you guys are watching on the live stream, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. We merged together, and we had the chance to try some bigger cases. And Gil and I just went in and did it. And, you know, sitting up here, as I think everyone knows, you're a trial lawyer. You know, you can always think back to your trial cases and all the experiences from them. But I had a great year and a half at Guy Fawkes Tyler, and but for the call to serve on the bench, I would still be there. I want to spend just a couple last moments giving some thanks, and then we can all go about our business. I want to thank the Judicial Nominating Commission, the JNC, for all the years, the ones that rejected me, the ones that accepted me, all of them. I mean, it's a big service that you serve to Florida and the judiciary. You know, much like it's a story that a lot of judges have heard, it takes a while, right? You know, I think I applied 12 times. I'm lucky that and then interestingly enough, back in, and I want to give a special thank you to Hayden. I remember very specifically December of 2017, there was four openings in the judiciary in the county court. And, right, I mean, it was before then, that's when the JNC made their selection. And so they were they could send up to 24 names. Actually, I take it back, there was 3. There were 3 openings, but 24 people had applied. And I wasn't one of the 18 names. So at this point, I told Yana, I was like, that's kind of a sign. All right, I don't think this is going to work out as much as I would like it to, and as much as others keep encouraging me, this isn't going to work out. And I talked to Hayden. I said, thank you so much. I know, I know you've been, a big supporter, and you give me a lot of good advice, but clearly this isn't going to work out. And Hayden was just like, no, we like you. You were very close. And I'm like, Hayden, you just threw up 18 names. I'm sorry. It might be when I'm 55 that this is going to happen, but in the meantime, I need to kind of move on. He's like, please, keep trying. I urge you to keep trying. Little did I realize that he actually kind of gives that advice to everyone so that they'll all keep applying because he likes names. But I'm still thankful, Hayden, for you doing that, because it wasn't 8 months later that I actually did, for the first time, get out of committee. And so I'm very thankful for that. To my wife, Yana, strong, independent, smart, thoughtful, impactful. My boss, who I love dearly. And I wouldn't be here without you. You are definitely the team captain of the house, and quite frankly, she has a much harder job than I do, raising these 3 kids. 4th if you include me. And I'm so appreciative. For those that don't know about Yana, she's very direct and honest and open, and so she keeps me on my toes. We met each other in college, and then we sort of lost touch with each other, and she actually had dated and married my fraternity brother, and that didn't work out, and there was long maps I didn't see her. And we didn't know each other in college. We just walked by each other kind of deal. But eventually, through Facebook and her coming down here with another fiance, we became friends again. But at the time, there was nothing. I mean, she was modeling out in California, and I was here in Miami, struggling prosecutor or insurance defense attorney. But then she moved to Atlanta. She was tired of California, and I started chatting with her, and I was like, well, come visit me in Miami. And of course, she immediately was like, and I didn't realize this was really her personality at the time, but she immediately said, Scott Janowitz, are you hitting on me? To which case I froze, because it was a little too on the head for me. And I had to use all my legal training and school training that I had developed, and so I said, maybe. Would you like me to? To which she said yes, and I'm thankful for the life we live. And we can always say that I know that it's one thing to know a person when you're together and it's just the 2 of you, but you never know how it's going to work out when you have the kids and when you go through life with all the complexities and difficulties. And there's no one else I'd rather be with, Jan. You're amazing, and I love you to the end of time. Briefly, my sons, Marcus and Nathan, you are both fearless, you are both brave, and I know you'd rather be playing with your tablets than listen to me anymore. But it's okay. Shelby, I love you so much. You are forever my princess. Just remember that. She doesn't let me forget it either, but that's good. And I love how smart you are, and how already you're motherly, and how generous and kind you are, and how much you love babies and your family. I mean, she loves kittens, and I'm allergic to kittens and cats, so she's actually told me when she grows up, she's going to have 2 houses, one for her cats and one so I can visit her. So I want to thank my sisters, Michelle and Allison, who are here on the live stream. Michelle's up in Connecticut. I'm so proud of all you've become and everything you've done and your life with Charlie and with my niece Madeline, who's becoming spectacular and a wonderful person in her own right. Allison, I don't say it enough. I'm extremely proud of you. You know, she's one of my closest people, my closest friends. I talk to her a lot, and to see what she's become, not only a mother of two and a wife and a wonderful person inside and out, but she's also now a senior partner at an insurance defense firm up in Fort Lauderdale. So how she juggles it, I don't know. But she is amazing. And I also feel bad for her because she's kind of walked in my footsteps as my younger sister, including Miami law and just being up in Fort Lauderdale. And so whenever anyone asks, are you related to Scott Janowitz? She always has to ask, is that a good thing or not? So I'm sorry you've had to live through that. Fellow judges, thank you for coming here, for your generosity and kindness. I'm honored by your presence. I'm honored by your attendance here, both virtually and here. I'm honored for the advice that's been given to me and over the last 20 months. And everyone has been so open and warm and compassionate. And it's not just a facade when you're here in front of litigants, but it's the character of you guys. And so I very much appreciate it. You know, there's a couple people I need to thank, especially my triplets, Carlos and Jeff, my co-appointees on that day. And Jeff is like my twin. He actually technically gave me the formal oath back when we got appointed, because it was the middle of COVID, and so I wasn't running to the courthouse. Everyone was at home, and I wasn't going to go to a notary and everything else. So we were over across the street in administration signing all our paperwork, and they're like, "You need to get the oath signed." I was like, "Yeah, I'll get it signed." And Jeff's like, "I'm a notary." I was like, "All right, let's swear me in." So I also want to thank Judge Levitt, Judge Marino Pedrosa, Judge Melendez. Great poem, Linda. Really, that was heartfelt. My wife's a little jealous that you are my work wife, but she'll deal with it. You know, my Coral Gables family, everyone is wonderful, and you know, my clerks, and everyone in the staff, including security. I'm so welcome there. You guys have basically given me this built-in support system to keep me humble, and I appreciate it. I have made many mistakes before and during the bench, right? I'm a person. As Mark Twain said, a man who carries a cat by the tail learns something he can learn in no other way. And that's kind of how I do things. I go forward. I'm not afraid of things. I want to do the right job, what I think is the right job, and make the right rulings and go forward. And I'll learn from mistakes, and I'll continue to learn from mistakes. You know, I want to serve with justice, equity, care, understanding, insight, and integrity for the highest good. It's a quote that my good friend Laura gave me, which I thought was wonderful, and I thank her for that. I've always learned to the premise of Albert Einstein: learn from today, live for tomorrow, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is to not stop questioning, and I don't. And what I hope is that everyone sees my passion, you know, whether it's speakers and everything else. I love not only serving the community, not only being a judge, but I love actually the law. I'm one of those people that when you say, do you like being a lawyer? Yes, I do. I loved every minute of being a lawyer. I love what we do. The law is part of everything. It's what binds society together. And without the law and without us practicing law the right way, then we would have chaos. And so I'm so thankful and grateful that I have people to help me with my passion. To my fellow, to Chief, to my fellow colleagues on the County Court Civil Bench, to Maria and Michaela and Clerk of Courts and AOC and Legal, Pat Gladson and her team, and Sandy Lonigan, and everyone else that I've been a part of with the projects that was mentioned for the last 20 months. I know I can be a little in your face. I know I'm excited. I know I'm a workaholic. And I know that sometimes you get off the phone with me and you're like, can he just calm down a little bit? But I am passionate. And please understand that my passion comes from the efficiency of justice and the administration of justice. And that's all I really want to do. That I have spent my life, you know, in a lot of ways never succeeding to the level I wanted to, and not because I couldn't, but just because it was never where I felt comfortable doing it and how I was meant to serve. And I feel at peace here, and I feel that I'm doing good work and I'm helping change society, and I hope that I can do this for a very long period of time, and when the time comes for me no longer to be a judge, that I can sit back and that other people can sit back and reflect and sit there and say, Scott Janowitz was a good judge. Scott Janowitz cared. Scott Janowitz was about efficiency, was about good for the people, the attorneys, the system, and about improving the world. And ultimately, that's what I want. And I'm thankful for everyone, for you being here. I'm thankful for everyone who's here watching. And I'm thankful for your support during this time.
No more sitting. Judge Janowitz, it's a pleasure for me to welcome you to our Miami bench. It was almost, I guess, exactly 2 years ago when you were appointed, smack dab in the middle of a global pandemic. It's already been said. My interactions with you when you first were appointed were very much over Zoom. And I felt like I got to know you pretty well. I don't remember why, but we had Zoomed a number of times. And then one day you walk into my office, and I recognized you right away because I knew your face, but I think the first thing out of my mouth was, wow, you're so tall. Because in my mind, I don't know, your Zoom face is just a little bit shorter. But I have to say, so early on, it's amazing to me that you've only been on the bench for 20 months. Early on, Judge Linda Stein, who's your admin judge in North Dade, and North Dade is probably one of the best places for new judges to start. And not that you started there, but Linda being your nurturing admin mom, spoke volumes about you, and to the point where I'm like, he's been a judge for like 2 seconds. Like, what's going on, Linda? And sure enough, as you started and you became the associate administrative judge, which is, a Herculean task in and of itself that you did in a very, very quick time, you've more than proven yourself to me. In addition to what's been said about the landlord-tenant project, the county civil division is inundated with 1 million cases, and you have been instrumental in the new Florida Supreme Court mandated case management processes. You've worked hard, you are accessible, and you are a tireless public servant. And you say you want to be a good judge. I'm happy to say that you are already a really, really good judge. So on behalf of all of your new colleagues, welcome to the bench. On behalf of all of us, thank you all for being here, both here and virtually. If you'd like to greet the judge and his family, please come over here to your right side, our left side. And with that, court's in recess. I love it. Your wife was shaking her head when you said that, when you talked about Linda. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, quick, yeah.
Oh.
Let's go for a photo, and then I'll get to you.
Oh, wait.